another YouTube channel. Yeah, that's right. Guys, welcome to BHP Tours. Thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the channel already and liked my trailer video. It really is appreciated. Over the coming months, I'm going to be taking you on my travels as I drive across Europe and hopefully beyond. I'll also be having a few conversations around football with a few of my friends. But first of all, I need to work out which car I'm going to get. Before I get to the new car though, this is the last car that I had, which gave me the travel bug. And yes, it's in Smurf. So, I discovered this car on Blue Monday, which is the third Monday in January, also known as the most depressing day of the year. Pretty good pick-me-up, right? If you're wondering where I am in these two clips, Northern Italy, Dolomites, thank me later. I've loved the F-Type. I mean, I've had two of them, but that 5-litre supercharged V8 engine dominated the driving experience. It was a great car to cover long distances in, but I felt like I wanted something a bit lighter that might help it feel more engaging on those tighter and twistier roads like this. San Marco Pass, one of the best roads I've ever driven on. Have to come back here. For me, and a lot of other motor enthusiasts, a car is an emotive purchase, which probably explains why most of my cars have been split between hot hatches and sports cars. A lot of new car launches appear at motor shows across the world. Paris, Geneva, Frankfurt, those are the three big ones I know of. I arrived to my choice by reading on a car website that Goodwood Festival of Speed was due to start in a few days. A day prior to that, I spotted a car I've never seen before, and as soon as I saw a picture, I knew I needed to figure out a way of getting one. Here was that launch. The next morning, I decided to place a deposit with Lotus. 2 hours after that, I see the car driving down the famous Goodwood circuit. I see it in another colour other than blue.
It's a lovely cliche. Yeah. And it makes a good noise.
These are where the cars are built, Hethel, Norfolk, England. I love the fact they've got a test track on site. So what is Lotus? Lotus are a relatively low volume British car manufacturer that makes small sports cars. Their founder, Colin Chapman, came up with the famous mantra, simplify then add lightness. I like the fact that rather than making big, heavy, powerful cars, they've always made smaller, lighter cars that have great handling characteristics, staying true to their roots.
So why the Lotus? Well, aside from the fact that I think the car is absolutely beautiful, growing up, it was all the fashion to go premium German if you wanted a sports car. They're well engineered, usually pretty reliable, and feel premium not only to the touch, but also to sit in as well. I've always felt patriotic buying a British car, whether it's a Jaguar, which are predominantly built in the Midlands, or whether that's a Mini that's built in Oxford.
And yes, good eyes. That is King Charles driving an electric Mini off the production line during a visit to the plant in 2021.
Petrol-powered sports cars are now becoming increasingly rare. The F-Type that I owned is Jaguar's last ever petrol-powered car as they take their leap towards becoming an electric-only brand. Lotus, despite their racing heritage and history of great sports cars, are following suit, so the Emira will be the last petrol-powered Lotus ever. I think that's pretty sad. It made me want to be a part of their history. Speaking of history, I think their badge naming strategy is pretty cool.
Have you wondered why Lotus's models all start with the letter E? It's a bit of a long story, but Lotus's founder, Colin Chapman, who has a long list of great quotes, started Lotus by rebuilding an Austin 7 with a custom body. He then named that the Mark I. He then continued with the Mark II, 3, 4, etc. When production finished on the Mark VII, Caterham bought the rights to the design and started production on their own Caterham 7 in 1973. They still make them to this day. That's what you call timeless. When Lotus were readying the launch of the Lotus 11 in 1956, the motoring media at the time liked the way it sounded and the Mark designation was dropped, and it's been E ever since. Elan, Elise, Esprit were the famous cars I knew from a young age. Again, Gran Turismo influence. The Esprit was a halo car and even featured in a Bond film, Spy Who Loved Me in 1977. So if it's good enough for him, I'm sure it's good enough for me. Colour is always an important choice. I wouldn't go for the light blue so soon after the F-Type. You have two greys, a lighter grey, which is like a silver, a gunmetal grey, Dark Verdant, hint, Hethel yellow, which is a non-metallic yellow, a bit bright for me, and Magma red, which is, I think, reserved for Ferraris and Alphas. This is what I went for. So why Dark Verdant? Well, I had a British Racing Green Mini Clubman Cooper S, and I went for the same colour on a V6 F-Type a few years back. My first memory of a Lotus as a child was driving a dark green Lotus Elise on Gran Turismo in my early teens. The only other colour was yellow, and I don't think I'm flash enough for one of those yet. Now I'm sold on the Emira though. The big choice for me was that 3.5 litre Supercharged V6 or the Mercedes AMG derived 2 litre turbo with that twin clutch gearbox. I've never actually owned a Mercedes, although I did drive a 6-cylinder diesel CLS for a few months, and that car pulled like a train. A close friend of mine has the previous shape GLA 45, but I've actually never driven any of those mental 4-cylinder turbo cars. I think the transition from a V8 from the Jag to a 4-cylinder might have been too great. They also weren't due out for another year or so after the V6, so that settled it. Well, this settled it actually. And yes, it was always going to be a manual. So now I've chosen my engine, the gearbox. I now need to make a decision on the chassis and suspension setup. Do I go touring, which is going to be mostly for road use and the trips, or sports for a track day or two? Despite delay after delay, with email after email, over 18 months later, Lotus are finally delivering me my new car. I tell you, coming from a car nut, nothing beats new car handover day. When you see a car in the right location, look at this. So, first road trip, I think we keep it in Britain. Thanks very much for watching. See you very soon. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel and click the thumbs up icon to like this video if you enjoyed it. Next video, we get down to business.